What I find interesting is how many supervillains are scientists. If the world doesn't respect me, I might change sides. Young Sheldon Cooper.
Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy, both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me. Michael Scott.
Nobody can tell me where I can or can't go. Kanye West.
Good morning. My name is Tarapi, and I'm a sixth form boarder from Hartford, Connecticut. Today, I'll be sharing 4 of my college essays. This first essay was one of my most personal ones. Yet, putting down the words onto the page helped me process what had truly happened and how I would move forward. Prompt 1. Describe an experience that caused you to change your perspective. Word count, 500 words. I wish I didn't have a twin, I shouted at her. Months later, I saw the effects of my words. In our constant bickering, where we traded insults, I never saw language as something important. Words were just words, and had no meaning unless assigned to them. However, my twin passionately believed in the impact of words and tried to change my mind. Oblivious to why words mattered so much to her, much more than they did to me, I focused on my studies. That is, until one winter night, when my mother called me, crying. That night, my worst fear came true. My twin, my other half, with her right dimple completing my left one, had tried to take her very own life. I couldn't understand it, and tears flooded down my face. Only a week prior, she and I were home together, engaging in our usual squabbles. Now, on a Thursday at 1 p.m., away at boarding school, I was sobbing in the dorm room and thinking about a reality where my twin might have taken an extra pill too much. However, even as snot rolled down into my lips, I couldn't stop thinking about school, and guilt consumes me. In my home, therapy and mental health were heavily stigmatized. As first-generation refugees, my sisters and I knew better than to visibly struggle with anything. We were meant to keep it all in, keep strong, and keep moving forward, no matter what. Instead, we were taught to value hard work and perseverance. Out of my 2 sisters, I followed my mother's teachings the most. When she shared stories of her childhood in Myanmar, I found myself desperate to make her proud. Out of pure necessity, mental health didn't and couldn't exist where my mother grew up. She and her 7 sisters were all needed to carry out their responsibilities. There wasn't time to dwell on feelings when they had to guard against the rain leaking through their bamboo roof or pound the rice they ate to survive for the week. So when my mother accused my twin of using excuses of mental health to be lazy, I stayed quiet, unaware of what my silence held. When I spoke to my twin about her attempt a few months later, she opened up about her struggles with OCD, depression, and anxiety. Before, I thought these were just buzzwords that people used on social media to explain their hardships in life. That certainly wasn't the case. I began to understand the effects of the stigmatization of mental health and what this truly meant for my twin growing up. From vulnerable conversations about why my words had deeply hurt her, to deep dives into the web about specific disorders, I came to better understand the consequences of the taboo nature of mental health. Taking what I know now, I am more receptive in understanding of others who are struggling. Now that I modified my beliefs, it was time to help my mother do the same. That was essay 1. Next, essay 2 was actually one of my most favorite ones because when I wrote it, the words so easily flowed onto the page. And trust me, that usually never happens to me. I usually, begrudgingly, write essays. I also always claim I am not a good writer, at least not enough for my own standards. Prompt 2. If you could meet a character from a book, who would it be and what would you ask them? Word count, 200 words. After teleporting into the literary universe of Lunch Walks Among Us by Jim Benton, I arrived at an elementary school. The purpose of my visit was to pick the brain of a 7-year-old mad scientist. Not literally. I looked around and I saw a girl with purple hair and distinctive hooded eyes, carrying her science equipment. She was undoubtedly Franny K. Stein. After all, from 3rd to 4th grade, I reread her book at least 10 times. I loved Franny then, and I still do now. She inspired me to love STEM from her grand experiments, even if she was a crazy mad scientist always plotting for world domination. Franny wouldn't admit it, but she was also a kind person. Using her science skills, she saved her classmates from an evil monster. As this little genius stood in front of me, I introduced myself and then bombarded her with my burning questions. What are your next plans? To rule the world or to help others? What inspired you in your scientific pursuits? Finally, I admitted and asked, Franny, it was my dream to meet you. So if you could meet any scientist, who would they be and why? And that was the second essay. This next essay was a little more difficult to write because the nature of the prompt really meant anything went, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to best capture the reader's attention. But by the end of it, I decided that it was best to just truly be myself and let my personality shine through. Prompt 3. Write a note to your future roommate. Word count, 250 words. Dear future roommate, every morning I love to brew my own coffee. I recently bought a quote-unquote state-of-the-art coffee machine for college. So if you also like coffee, I can make yours too. If not, pomegranate green tea with its soothing nature is another favorite drink of mine. Whenever I get stressed, this tea is my go-to remedy. While we're studying for finals, with the help of our coffees and teas, I know we'll get through the ordeal. Besides drinks, I am also a big smell person. This may seem odd, but bear with me. When my mom cooks her delicious fish sauteed in a garlic dish, the smell of different spices permeates the kitchen, making me drool. However, this doesn't mean I want the smell to travel into my room, infecting my clothes and everything else. My house has a closed door policy due to this. On the other hand, I love good smells, so I'll often run a humidifier with lemongrass, eucalyptus, or tea tree. I'll occasionally spray perfumes. I also believe in being able to laugh at oneself. This mindset has helped me get through my most embarrassing moments. When I got new piercings, or even when I changed my phone wallpaper to an abstract art photo, I claim to be quote-unquote edgy. My friends laugh at me for this, but I do too at myself. I hope we can also find our own jokes and our own balance of laughing at each other next year. Best, Tarapi. And that was essay number 3. Finally, on to the last prompt. This one, in particular, truly helps me become more aware and grateful for all my loved ones, some of whom are not presently in my life, but whom I will forever remember. And I think that's what happens in life. People make lasting impacts on each other without ever realizing it, and we may never get to see them again. While some may see this as sad, I think it's a beautiful thing to have ever been able to be with another person and then keep them in your heart, even after your time together has passed. Prompt 4. Write a short thank you note to someone you have not yet thanked and would like to acknowledge. Word count, 200 words. Dear Mrs. Hubert, my 5th grade math/science teacher, if you're out there watching my chapel, I want you to know this. I recently found the water bottle I won from your candy counting competition in 5th grade. From fun challenges like guessing the number of candies in different sized bottles to difficult challenges like building parachutes, you encouraged my peers and me in the valuable pursuit of education. Watching you rouse my classmates' curiosities by going the extra mile in math and science lessons, I learned what it meant to care. I'm extremely lucky to have known you my entire middle school journey. As a painfully shy preteen, I couldn't say then, but thank you. You saw potential in me and cared for me, inside and outside the classroom. I remember when you invited my sisters and me out for an ice cream trip and even a golf trip. These were experiences I wouldn't have had if not for you. Every day, I do my best to be as compassionate as you were. I now mentor other students in Hartford through a wonderful program called Horizons at my high school. I might not be able to invite them out for trips, but I can share my life experiences with them and listen to their stories. I hope to inspire these kids to strive towards their goals, as you inspired me. Sincerely, Tarapi. After sharing these 4 essays, I hope you all have gotten to know me a little bit better. And I say that because that's the point of these college essays. It's not entirely fair, but colleges only get to see you through the words you write, through your stories. For me, the college process was a long, painful journey, but by the end of it, I discovered more of who I was. Through this process, I gained the ability to be able to tangibly articulate my identity to others and to myself. Before, I'd be stumped if someone asked me what my values were and just who I was as a person. So if I did these essays right, I hope you now all have a fair sense of my values and who I am. At least that's the goal. Additionally, these essays helped me reflect on past experiences, the pleasant and not so pleasant ones. My first essay was one I wasn't sure if I was comfortable to write about or if I wanted to share with you all today. Yet, after I finally wrote that essay, I think I was able to look at myself, kind of like an out-of-body experience, seeing myself in third perspective and really perceiving myself, becoming more aware, more conscious of who I was. By writing down what this painful event meant for me, I processed the whole situation for the first time ever, facing the truth. Now, I'm not saying these essays have to be super personal. I know my other 3 were ones that were more lighthearted, but they were all 3 that I was proud of and felt were ones that truthfully and genuinely represented me.